Not knowing how to park or always struggling to get it right can be incredibly frustrating. I'm hoping that I can shed some light on this for you today. And it starts with just a short story. Hit me up in the comments if this helps you.
I was teaching a learner driver the other day, and it was a parallel park that we were working on. One thing I noticed that was fundamentally wrong with what she was doing was where she was looking. She had learnt these maneuvers from someone else, but it makes no difference, and we're all kind of guilty of this. When it comes to the parallel park, for most learner drivers, for most new drivers, it's essential to give them some form of reference points to help them out with this maneuver. The reference points teach you at a certain point you need to do this, and at a certain point you need to do that, and that's totally fine. It does give you the template that you need in order to get some form of structure to do the parallel park. But what it can also do is make you look in all the wrong places.
And what she was repeatedly staring at was her steering wheel, and controversially her left wing mirror, which was making her go wrong.
And before she realised what was happening, she smacked into the curb.
Now before you come at me and tell me that the left wing mirror is essential, I'm not saying don't use it, but there is another way to judge it. That tip's coming soon.
Now I'm just as guilty as any other driving instructor out there for having given reference points, because reference points are essential. But what I noticed from a very early stage of teaching this exercise is that it was so important that they had this structure to begin with, but then to try to remove it, to get them to understand pattern recognition. And I gotta be honest, no video is ever gonna completely solve this issue for you.
All lies, this one.
You are going to have to go out and practice this. But if you're at the stage where you've been doing reference points and you've been doing it for a while and that you're still struggling, I would urge you to start paying attention. Use the reference points as some form of structure, but look in all the correct places. Before you begin starting this maneuver, one of the most essential things to assess is how close that vehicle is to the curb. And you can see that the vehicle that I'm going to be lining up with is really close. So if I try and line up like that vehicle, I too am at much greater risk of hitting that curb. I can get away with about a drain's width of distance between you and the curb. So if that's the case, use it. And in the worst case scenario, if I pick up a driver fault and I get through my reversing maneuver, which I know has always been a struggle, I'll take it. Okay, so
after I've done my essential observation,
the first place I'm looking here. I want to make sure I move off into a good position. Not too far from here, looking up the road, looking back here, up the road and stop.
And just to make this incredibly clear, because I've seen this happen way too often, if you stare at the car, you'll drive straight towards it. So do make sure you're looking up the road too. Otherwise, you'll be all wonky and have a terrible start position.
Get yourself a ½ meter to a meter from the parked car. Now, safety obs. This is not the control element. It's essential, but it's not helping me park. Start reversing. Now use the reference point you've been taught. Maybe wing mirror to center column there. Turn the wheel or lock the wheel, makes no difference. Safety ob, mirror, shoulder. Swinging out. Now, understanding my 35 to 45 degree angle, whichever angle it is that you've been taught, I see that from here and here. It's these two bits here. Here to here. That's looking pretty good. I'm now going to straighten up. I don't really want to go any wider than that. I do a safety ob. I'm now reversing the car back in. Now what I'm looking at is I'm looking at this vehicle here. I'm at an angle. I can see this angle here. Now you can use your reference point. That's absolutely fine. Whatever the reference point you've been taught, use it. But once you start turning it in, pay attention to how this section of your car is moving in line with the line here.
Or the parked car.
You can use your wing mirrors. That's absolutely fine. Use the wing mirror here. Put my back windscreen wiper on by mistake there. I can see now I'm quite close to that curb. That there, in my wing mirror, I can see that I'm lined up inside the bay. It's all looking pretty good. It's looking pretty good there, although that mirror wasn't my major concern. Straighten the wheels. Now, I don't really want to go too far back because I know I must be tight because I'm very much lined up with this car here. So I'm done. Handbrake, neutral, done. When you do this maneuver for real, on your driving test, you've got to be able to do the safety obs and the control obs. But to begin with, you could probably do one easily and then the other one struggles, or you could do the other one and then the other one struggles. Balance out your safety observations. Make sure it's safe. Whenever you are doing safety observations, take your time. Don't move the car too much. Reverse back to the reference point that you need. Pause. Do your safety observations.
And just to really hammer this point home, every time you turn the steering wheel at a point in a parallel park, that should be a pause. If you keep moving while you're looking around, 2 to 3 seconds later, the car could be in a terrible position.
Now the other thing when it comes to doing the parallel park, touching the curb, you can get away with it as long as you don't smack into it. And in fact, I would encourage you to actually get used to what the curb feels like. So reverse so that you're going to touch the curb. Feel that resistance, and once you do, you just stop the car. In fact, right now, I'm gonna touch it.
Oh, it's all gone a bit action-y.
I'm gonna make sure it's safe. If I'm reversing backwards, and I'm coming towards that curb. Got a pedestrian here. I don't really want to go into a curb when there's a pedestrian right there.
Well, that burst my little excited bubble.
But the moment I come back and I get that curb, and this curb here is not massive, I feel it there. That's resistance right there. You get that resistance, stop trying to drive up it, then just move away. Move away. And then back in.
Steering tip incoming, because you could also be struggling with that. Another little nugget of information is this steering technique that I'm using to get away from the curb. I'm using what I call the rule of 3. The steering wheel needs to turn 3 times in order to get me straight. So here it is again, just one more time so you can see it. So the first stage is left, second stage right, and then third stage will be back to the left again to make the car straight. That's the rule of 3.
The reality is, in real life, when we are parking, we touch curbs all the time because we're parking in spaces where space is limited, and it may be outside your house. Come back late at night and there's just a tiny little space that's just big enough for your car. So touching the curb is quite normal when it comes to doing the parallel park, and don't get bent out of shape if you touch the curb on your driving test. But do get used to how it feels. It can make a massive difference to you. Give it a go. The other thing is obviously steering. Now, I've talked about steering before. Steering can also be a problem as to why people are really struggling with this maneuver. And you've got to find something that works for you. Either that as you're reversing, you're going backwards, you turn the wheel left, the back will go left, or you turn the wheel right, the back will go right. Or you think of the front of the car, and as you turn left, the nose will swing out, and as you turn right, the nose will come back in. Understanding steering is also a big deal. Only practice will help you.
If you'd like a bit more information on steering when it comes to reversing, then hit me up in the comments and I'll look at doing another video for you. And of course, the final reason as to why you may be struggling with this maneuver is you're just simply doing it too fast. Slow down.
If you get any value from this video, obviously hit that like button, share it with anybody that you think will benefit from this video, because that would really obviously boost the channel. But also, if you think this video is going to help somebody who's been struggling with parallel parking, then that'd be great. And obviously, if you're new to the channel, then hit that subscribe button too. If you feel like buying me a coffee because you found this video incredibly useful, then hit me up with a super thanks. And if you fancy seeing a bit more of what I do, then go and watch this video next. Get well out.